Evan, what was your takeaway from Terrence Shannon?
My takeaway from watching him play in person over there was TJ looked and I felt the exact way I felt about TJ a year ago when I was in person at NBA Summer League. And that's the first thing I was sitting there is I just thought watching him play is, man, I came to see Rob Dillingham, but this guy is ready. TJ is ready. And I was high on TJ when we took him in the draft because his college career, what he did, probably would have won National Player of the Year, which many people don't know, was amazing in college that year. Had those legal allegations that obviously caused him to fall, not win National Player of the Year as well. Cost him millions of dollars to fall that much in the draft because he was probably a lottery pick. But you're seeing why. And he's a little bit he's older, right? So he came in at age 23 when the Timberwolves drafted him. This year in NBA Summer League, he's 24. He'll be turning 25 this year. So it's not shocking that a player who's that much older with that much experience, full grown ass man, his body, it's ready, man. He's a big guy in person. You've never seen TJ in person up close or been around him. He is like, you would never know that he's in his second year. He is built. And then just the velocity he plays with, the aggression he plays with. I just love like that no fear factor. He said the second sport, if he could play anything, he would play football. And when he runs down the court, he looks like an NFL running back, just engaging contact. I mean, that's like Adrian Peterson stuff, which many of us are familiar with in Minnesota. But I was just so impressed at his decision making. I thought he had the upside to maybe be somewhat of a playmaker. I didn't think it would be at this level. I think what you saw is Terrence take the step of playmaking. He also took a step as well in his 3-point shot from not really showing it too much at Summer League last year to now showing he spreads the floor. He's worked on his game. There's reports that he took 18,000 3-point shots so far in the summer. He's the first one at the gym. I mean, you're adding a guy who can already slash and get to the rim at will, and now you're adding a 3-point shot threat. You're adding playmaking ability. We're talking about a player who's not just a role player, which I thought he could be last year. I'm talking about an NBA starting level caliber player that could play, in my opinion, in the starting lineup for years to come.
It's hard to disagree with anything that you said because sometimes sometimes in social media or TV, we fans, we get fed a lot of junk sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And we get too excited about players who don't work out. We're told this fake story. We're told this fake story. And it just, not necessarily saying like people in the media do that a lot, but you when you're on social media enough, you hear it enough. And Shannon just got so much good feedback the last few months. Like not only late last year, he leads that 25-point comeback against OKC. He averages 34 per 36 in the conference final against OKC. A-Rod is going to Stephen A. Smith like, that's one of our pieces, Stephen A. That's one of our future pieces right there. Like, you're hearing this and you're getting like, oh, man, is this the Minnesota team? Like, is this just false hope happening once again? And I think we all wanted to see, like, how real is this? And he was one of the 5 best players at Summer League, bare minimum. I would argue he was top 3.
Easily.
Because, I mean, Filipowski was freaking incredible. Like,
incredible.
Filipowski is another name people got to watch because he was – I think Utah got something there too. But Shannon, how physically imposing he was, like he was in college, he's been that in the NBA. One of my friends texted me and he went, this is like Miles Bridges at shooting guard, but with playmaking feel. And I was like, that is the perfect comp.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a perfect comp for Terrence Shannon Jr., but the physical imposing nature he has, yet the patience. And you mentioned the 3-point shooting. I think he was shooting, if I'm not mistaken, I think his first 3 games, he shot, I think, over 8 a game. I think he shot 38.5% from 3 in Summer League. But he had that one game where he gets double-digit threes. That other game where he's like 5 for 14, which is an insane number. And then he had that like perfect 3-point shooting game last. The jumper, you can see the reps are getting in there. And if he can space the floor like that, if he can pass the ball like that, not only is he somebody I think can be a starting caliber player, but I think the best version of that player can become a legitimate like third option on a high level basketball team. And if he can reach that ceiling, Minnesota hit it out of the park. I'm not saying he's 100% getting there because he's age 25. We want to see more in between stuff, but I think everything you could have wanted from Terrence Shannon this postseason and this summer league, Minnesota got.
And I think what you were saying was so accurate about people overhyping things, the media overselling things. Us on social media platforms like myself with the Daily Wolves, sometimes we jump on a player and we just amp them all up, even though they're never going to live up to their potential. But with TJ offensively, I was on it last year. I just feel like I wasn't even overselling it. I was just so in on him. I was so sold. Um, Again, when we go the day I'm there, it's NBA Summer League last year, and I talked about it that I went to see Rob, and I was so impressed by TJ. I go out and I run into Jim Pete, Michael Grady, Kyle Tighe, a couple other guys in the organization, and all of us separately had chats basically about, holy crap, did you see what TJ did? Like, Rob looked okay, but holy crap, this TJ kid's gonna be really good. And everybody was just, that was the talk. It was all about him. And so when that many people are talking about it, it's real. Like, you know what I mean? These guys do what they do for a living. And then on top of that, you go through this year, he looked so good every time he touched the court this year. The energy he brings is like what Josh Okogie used to give us, the injection, right? And now you're getting it from a guy who's going to inject offensive life too. You know, what does Anthony Edwards struggle with a ton on this team? Sometimes it's being the only guy getting to the rim. And that's what OKC did to him. In the playoffs, you saw a bunch of teams. He was the most blitz player in the NBA this year because no one else can really put pressure on the rim, and they're missing that. Well, TJ gives you that element now, and you're going to see it this season and then the future. And he fits the timeline perfectly because he's going to be in his prime basically when Ant's in his prime as well. They're the same age pretty much, right? So it's actually crazy because TJ is older than Anthony Edwards. Fun fact for those listening right now. But I just think with this kid is he has what I liked what you said about him being potentially that third option. I think he will be the third option. I think he's better already than Jaden McDaniels on the offensive end. That might be a hot take. That might be blown out of proportion. People might clip this, but I just think right now I would take him over Jaden for an offensive option, and he just fits the team perfect, man.
I keep saying that OKC series, Minnesota was so missing just in a physically imposing rim attacker.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Conley, that series averaged 4
Oh,
points on below 25% shooting. You can't have that. And I see why people were heartbroken when Nickeil Alexander-Walker left because, of course, he is homegrown in a lot of ways. He almost fell out of the league, and then he comes to Minnesota, and he grows into this really high-level role player who you can kind of ask to do anything, and he showed up. And when I say this, I'm not saying this as a shot at Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but if I have a concern about the Minnesota Timberwolves next year, it isn't because Nickeil Alexander-Walker left,
mm-hmm.
because Minnesota has enough high-level wing defenders. I'm not necessarily worried about that. But Minnesota didn't have anybody who could dribble. They didn't have anybody who you can say, okay, Ant, Randall, they're not getting anything going. Let's just get somebody who you know is going to get to the rim. And
Mm-hmm.
Terrence Shannon, not only do I think he can do that, I think he can do that efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
Not because he's a great athlete, but because if all hell breaks loose, I think Terrence Shannon is a very good connective decision maker. And I thought we saw glimpses of that this summer league. I think we saw glimpses of that his rookie year. And I just when we drafted Terrence Shannon, I liked the pick, but I wasn't running around screaming to the rooftops that
Yeah, I agree
Minnesota
with
got
that.
a guy. I just like, okay, great college player. Some questions on how his role scales in the NBA. We'll see if the game is a little too fast for him. Those are real questions. But so far, in a very limited sample size, which is somehow really impressive, he's answering those about as well as he possibly could in the situation he's given. So I think when you look at this Timberwolves team next year, he has a ton of pressure on him because I think we all see somebody who should average double digits next year.
Yep.
easily.
Yeah.
If he gets 17 minutes, he should get 10 points a game. If he gets 22 minutes a game, I think he can get 13 a game.
Mhm.
I believe that much into the offensive firepower as soon as next year. And I don't want to put too much expectations on a year two player, but this is also a guy theoretically entering a prime age. So I don't think
Yes.
that's too much to ask either. And I think the summer league just verified what we all hoped coming in.
This is something I noticed too from watching him from a year ago as well, guys. His ball handling is significantly improved, in my opinion. And that's something that might be overlooked. I just think at the speed he moved a year ago, it was sometimes he puts his head down, would go to the rim and he loses control and he just goes out of control, or he turns the ball over, or he plows into a guy and it's an offensive foul. Just little things that he needed to clean up, or guys are all swatting at it. And his handle this year is so tight and it has improved so much that he was able to do things that I couldn't believe and get by guys in such tight spaces. And in person, I would notice 4 or 5 hands, guys slapping his arms, no call fouls, and he's still able to hold onto the ball, get to the rim, draw a foul at the rim, or finish it. And I just can't believe that a player in year 2 is doing that. Again, this is a player who had way more experience than most guys coming to the league in college. So it's not crazy that he's doing this in year 2. But I think that's something also is why you're seeing him, perform the way he's doing. And I think I think Dane Moore had posted about it on Twitter at one point and said the kind of summer league performance he's doing and the numbers he's putting up, if he was younger and he was kind of like a lottery pick, and he just had come out of the draft as a younger player, you'd be talking about this is like a all-star future kind of. These are the guys they talk about when they performances like this, like all stars have it. Those are the kind of players that develop into star level players. We're not saying that TJ is going to do that, but at this point, would I be shocked if he made the team one time in his life, an all-star team? No. Probably won't happen. That's probably way out of the park, but I just can't believe this guy is still, he's a starter level player. Like he's going to be, I really do believe he's going to eventually force himself into the lineup and he's going to be in the starting lineup. Probably, maybe not this season, but I think those conversations are going to be had in the future. And I like the point you brought up about losing Nikhil and Jalen Clark's still here, TJ's still here. So they could, you were hoping that the two of them together could kind of equal and give you enough of what Nikhil's done. Well, what TJ's shown you in summer league is you're not going to be missing Nickeil Alexander-Walker too much, because this guy can do what Nikhil could do. Maybe not everything, but a lot of it. And he sure is a hell of a lot better of an offensive talent as well. And he can hold his own on the defensive end.
Totally. And I find the age thing funny because I hear what Dane was saying in regard to if you just put these stats next to a 21-year-old and you consider the context, future all-star. I mean, as much as we don't want to admit it, the age thing really matters.
It really does.
And there's still questions like, okay, you are a 24-year-old playing against a lot of 20-year-olds or lower level 24-year-olds trying to just scratch in the league. So there is that component to consider, and I don't want to completely ignore that. But when I see Terrence Shannon, if he turned into an all-star, I would be very pleasantly happy, slightly pleasantly surprised. But I think if Terrence Shannon Jr. becomes like the Christan Braun of the Minnesota Timberwolves,
Yep.
I think that would be a fantastic outcome, because I don't see Braun as an all-star, but he's also one of those guys who is an absolute force in transition, legitimately one of the best transition players in the league. And he has that feel, that connectivity to his game, and an edge that really stands out. And I will say this, Terrence Shannon is more physically imposing than Christan Braun. So if he's a slightly better offensive version of Braun, that's not impossible. That would be an incredible
I
outcome,
think
because
that's going to happen.
I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league, Christan Braun. So if he's
I
that
agree.
great, and you mentioned, I mean, we'll get into a deeper conversation about this probably later in the episode after we talk about Rob Dillingham. But I made the case the other week about Terrence Shannon starting, and that was the
Don't hate it.
point.
Yep.
OKC, they won the title with Shea at point guard. And I'm not saying Ant is the playmaker Shea is based on what we've seen. But at Ant's age, you have to project a little bit that the playmaking gets a little better, the maturity gets a little better. Could Anthony Edwards become a heliocentric 32 usage guy? I think so.
Mhm.
And if Terrence Shannon Jr. is as good of a connective passer you and I think he can be,
Mhm.
why can't he start if the other options on your team literally can't get to the rim? Or, Rob Dillingham, who we'll talk about in a second, you're not fully confident he's ready yet.